Good day. We are going to explicate the concepts of individualism and collectivism and at the same time discuss its significance in communication and in the political spectrum of ideologies. This presentation is prepared by UP Manila students taking the subject Communication 10, Critical Perspectives in Communication under Mr. Villar. The students responsible for this presentation are Marisa Beltran, Noreen Kabatay, and Daniel Danica Ior-Uy, all of whom are currently college freshmen. To start off, the concepts individualism and collectivism are used in various fields in the social sciences. With relation to communication, these two concepts indirectly and directly affect communication styles. Individualism and collectivism can also be used to explain an aspect of the political spectrum. However, it is important to note that individualistic and collectivistic tendencies are determined where priorities are placed when the demands and implications of different aspects are in conflict. In short, an individual has both individualistic and collectivistic tendencies, but one dominant side will emerge during conflict. Before delving into the matter, let us first define both concepts. In the field of psychology, individualism and collectivism are better explained as attributes of culture and of people. Individualism is focused on the independence of an individual from his or her in-group or the group he or she belongs to, while collectivism is more centered on the interdependence within the group. Thus, with relation to conflicts, a collectivist will strive to maintain the harmonious relationship within the group, while an individualist will concentrate on achieving justice, as this 1999 study of Obuchi, Fukushima, and Tedeschi manifested, cited by Triandis. Also, individualist societies exercise the I consciousness, wherein each person is a unique individual, while collectivist societies exhibit the we consciousness, wherein an individual is determined by his or her group. Eiserman and others in 2002 distinguished several components of cultural IC from the common scales used to quantify it, as it is cited in Brewer and Chen's study in 2007. Now that both concepts have been explained, let us now discuss their role in communication. Cultural individualism collectivism has an impact on the individual's communication style. Now, what is communication style? Communication style is the way one verbally and paraverbally interacts to signal how literal meaning should be taken, interpreted, filtered, or understood, lifted from Norton's 1978 study by Goodikins et al. In 1996. One particular differentiation in communication style is the Hall's low context and high context communication. Based from Goodikins' understanding of Hall's definition, low context communication is the use of overt and exact messages which directly contain the meaning. High context communication, on the other hand, is the use of obscured and coded messages, the meaning of which is found on the individual or in the context. Goodikins and Tingtumi contend that low context communication is used predominantly in individualistic cultures, whereas high context communication is used predominantly in collectivistic cultures, as lifted from Goodikins et al.'s 1996 study. Recalling the focus of each concept, it is easy to understand why this is so. Similarly, cultural IC has a direct and indirect effect on communication behaviors, as observed by Goodikins et al. In 1996. Its direct effect is due to the norms and rules that guide behaviors gained through the process of socialization. The socialized individualistic and collectivistic tendencies, then, indirectly shapes individual-level factors such as self-construals or understanding of the self and personal values. Now that the implication of individualism and collectivism in communication has been clarified, let us now turn to the other aspect where said concepts can also be applied, the spectrum of political ideologies. To further understand the importance, one must first be familiar with the idea of ideology. Ideology is elusive in that it has many contending definitions. However, its origin is not contested. According to Haywood, Atoin, Destutt, de Tracy coined the term during the French Revolution. that Tracy presented the science of ideas hoping it would soon be of equal terms to established sciences like biology. This was due to his dream to discover the origin of ideas. Despite the wide range of definitions, two definitions are worth mentioning. First is the sociological perspective, where an ideology is simply viewed as the sum total of persons' values, beliefs, assumptions, and expectations, as lifted from ThoughtCo website. In the realm of politics, however, ideology is more or less coherent set of ideas that provides the basis for organized political action, whether this is intended to preserve, modify, or overthrow the existing system of power, as Haywood has written in his book Political Ideologies, an introduction. The sociological view of ideology is often simplified to concepts such as worldview, belief system, and religion as observed by Goering in 1997. However, the same author mentioned that these concepts lack the political edge of ideology, as well as its coherence despite of the variety of ideas. Since our focus is on political ideologies, it is important to elaborate on its definition as used by Haywood. He classified three characteristics of an ideology, namely a worldview, or an account of the existing order, a vision of a good society or concept of how things should be, and how political change can be, or can and should be brought about, or how to get from A to B. It is now important to discuss the spectrum of political ideologies and how individualism and collectivism comes into play. Although the common conception of the left and right wing of the political spectrum is the distinction between liberals in the left and controversies in the right, individualism and collectivism can also be used as to further elucidate. Bear in mind that the political left is leaning towards collectivism, as one will understand as each ideology will be discussed, while the political right is leaning towards individualism. Hence, the two extremes, communism and anarchy, are manifestations of a collectivist and an individualistic state, respectively. Before probing the middle of the spectrum, let us focus on the two extremes, communism and anarchy. Let us first discuss communism in the liberal left or extreme collectivist sense. According to Lovell, communism is an ancient idea centered on the common ownership of goods. The assumption is that the abolition of private property will lead to social harmony since people will value the collective good above private interests. On the other end of the spectrum, anarchy, which means without rule, is an anti-state ideology. In the words of Haywood, anarchists have a preference of stateless society in which free individuals manage their affairs by voluntary agreement, without compulsion or coercion. Since both extremes have now been explained, let us turn to the ideologies between them. The discussion will be from the most collectivist next to communism, to the most individualist second to anarchy. Let's start off with socialism. It came from the Latin word sociare, meaning to combine or to share. Socialism is the set of beliefs that states that all people are equal and should share equally in a country's money. Although liberalism is concerned with the individual, collectivistic tendencies can also be observed. While liberalism undoubtedly favors openness, debate, and self-determination, it is also characterized by a powerful moral thrust. The moral and ideological stance of liberalism is embodied in a commitment to a distinctive set of values and beliefs, as stated by Haywood. In a liberal state, individuals commit to a social contract in which the government protects their individual rights and also limits their liberties in a justified manner. According to the University of Toronto, moderates are people who are fundamentally satisfied with the society. Nevertheless, they also consider that improvements must be made. However, these improvements should be made through gradual change only. As a result of the rapid growing pace of change in political, economic, and social spheres, conservatism stood in defense of an increasingly embattled traditional social order. To sum up, conservatives tend to resist change because they want to preserve the social order that is often favorable to them, an individualist tendency. Libertarianism, second to anarchism, refers to a range of theories that give strict priority to liberty, understood in negative terms, over other values, such as authority, tradition, and equality, as stated by Haywood. To summarize, individualism and collectivism can be seen in both communication styles and behavior and in the realm of politics, specifically in the political spectrum. Hence, the two concepts are not only enclosed within sociology or psychology, but these are used in other fields in the social sciences. Here are the references used in this presentation cited in the APA format.